Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Former Senator Bong Revilla is at Sandigan Bayan for his arraignment and pre-trial hearing in the malversation case filed against him.
President Bongbong Marcos is now in stable condition after being hospitalized due to diverticulitis.
Two groups attempted to file separate impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos.
Resigned Congressman Zaldico is still believed to be in Portugal. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla said he plans to travel to Portugal to verify information that Co has been reaching out to the government for possible dialogue.
First on the news, a lawyer has filed an ethics complaint against Senator J.V. Ejercito, accusing him of failing to act on pending ethics case against former Senate President Chisa Escudero. Lawyer Marvin Aceron claims Ejercito has not issued a case number, acknowledged the complaint, or provided any updates after more than 109 days, calling it a gross neglect of duty. Now, the complaint centers on a 30 million campaign donation from contractor Lawrence Lubiano during Escudero's senatorial bid. Ejercito responded that the Ethics Committee has not yet been fully formed and the Senate has been focused on budget deliberations. He said pending cases will be addressed once the committee is organized and sessions resume.
Now joining us is Senator J.V. Ejercito, Chair of the Senate Ethics Committee. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us again.
Hi, good morning, Angela. Good morning, Diego. Nice to be back in your program again.
Thank you, Sen.
All right, so meron po kayong ethics complaint. Okay.
Sa committee nyo.
Yes. What's your reaction on that? And yun nga po ang tanong, bakit nga daw po ang itong Escudero ethics complaint not moved after 109 days?
First of all, the ethics committee itself has not been constituted. No? I'll just give you the timeline. I was designated as chair of the ethics committee kasi wala nang gustong kumuha ng committee doon. It's very controversial. A day before, we adjourned, I think October, no? So I was designated a day before. I was read in plenary as chair of the ethics committee a day before, and then we adjourned. Then when we resumed session, we were already deliberating on the budget. So walang plenary session. So it was all budget hearings for a month, and then after budget hearings we had the BICAM as you know. So you can only constitute the members if it was read in the plenary. So we did not have the chance to have a plenary session. Kaya ako lang po yung member. The rest of the members have not yet been read in plenary session. We were able to have one plenary session this December but only to approve the BICAM report. So there were no other items in the agenda except for the BICAM report. So gustuhin ko man magkaroon ng hearing na, but I cannot because the committee has not been constituted, and it was because of timing, probably because nag-budget season, nag-BICAM and all, and it has not been read in plenary. So hopefully this January, this Monday when we resume session, hopefully it can already be read in plenary.
Sen, prior to itong complaint ni Attorney Marvin Aceron, ilan po bang ethics complaint na ang pumapasok sa inyo?
I think at this time there are about 4 or 5 already at this time, no? So including mine, probably it's 6 already. So
I'm sure, Sen, most of them no na hindi pa na-form yung committee nyo. Wala pa po nagsabi kay Attorney Aceron na yung situation at hindi niya ata alam.
And what I do not understand on Attorney Aceron, Diego and Angela, is that he's a lawyer. He knows that there are rules that need to be followed. There are procedures, and yung gusto niya unahin yung kay Senator Chisa Escudero, which was the 4th complaint, no, filed. So it first in first out tayo, no, as a matter of principle, and if we will follow the rules as in any other courts, no? Na talagang syempre first that will be filed will be the first that will be taken up. So hindi naman pwedeng unahin yung kanya kasi gusto niya.
So sino po yung, ano pong case yung unang uunahin nyo just in case when the Senate Ethics Committee is finally constituted?
Well, there are four other cases, Angela, but I do not want to disclose the other cases because we would want to make sure first, the committee would want to make sure first that there is enough grounds to pursue the cases, no? Kasi baka mamaya iba political lang or harassment lang. So ayaw naman natin, we do not want to subject the said legislators or senators into bad publicity or bad PR na so we will have to first screen, no, on who we will pursue kung talagang may ground. So it will not be up to me. We are a collegial body, so it will be up to the ethics committee, no. One more thing that's my dilemma is that the minority has only submitted only one nominee. They are entitled to two. So sana po when we resume, I hope that they can already submit so that I can already also submit to the rules committee so that it can already be read that para ma-constitute na po itong ethics committee.
Sen, sino po yung mga possible members ng committee nyo?
Right now it's from what I remember sila Senator Bam Aquino, Francis Pangilinan, and few more others of the majority. For minority si Sen Joel Villanueva na, kaya we need one more, no, to complete the committee.
Pero itong pagkakaroon po ng ethics complaint filed against you, would this affect your role as Deputy Majority Leader?
I don't think so because wala pa namang grounds no? So we will see. And I think there's no basis, no, at all for that ethics committee that filed against me. First of all, there's no ethics committee to talk about yet, no? Kasi hindi pa ito nakakonstitute. So how can I move with one person or one member? I cannot do that, no? So I am constrained to take action on any complaint right now because first of all, the committee has not been read or constituted. So yun ang problema ko talaga.
Okay, so one more thing, Senator, of course, pinag-uusapan po dito yung ilang buwan na pong absence ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. Will this also be discussed in the Senate Ethics Committee once kayo po ay okay na i-discuss yun sa committee?
Depends if someone files against Senator de la Rosa in his absences. Pero as of now, I don't think there is anyone. I don't have any knowledge if there is a complaint already against Senator de la Rosa.
Pero based on rules po ng Senate, ano po ba ang guidance natin pagdating sa attendance?
Lalo na pag prolonged absences.
Oo.
Well, that will have to be decided by siguro by the plenary on action and the leadership. Depends na rin on how it will be treated. Siyempre, the plenary will always be supreme, no? What the decision of the whole body will be, of course, will always be supreme.
Alright, so Senator, maglambing na lang ulit kami dito, no? Since you're here na rin, if it's okay, we talk about po the impeachment complaint filed against the President. First, and then nagkasunod na po 2 araw na may 2 pa, so 3 po. Your thoughts on that?
Well, whether we are for impeachment or not, no, whether it's the president, vice president, or any other official, we are bound by the our constitutional duty, no. Pabor man kami o hindi, kailangan namin gampanan itong trabahong to dahil yan po ang iniatas sa atin ng konstitusyon. Ang sa akin lang, I'm just want to raise my frustration, no, na parang if you come from other ASEAN countries, come from Vietnam, Bangkok, and other Malaysia, and parang they're doing all the right things, moving forward, and then here we are.
That's true.
Parang instead of moving forward, instead of talking about the infrastructure programs, the new airports, railways, and healthcare, and others, here we are talking about the flood control scandal. Tapos meron pang impeachment complaint. So Ano lang, personally, I feel frustrated that instead of moving forward, it seems that we are regressing. And kaya lang, again, it's our constitutional duty. No, I hope people don't get me wrong that I'm not.
Yes.
That we're against impeachment, but it's our constitutional duties. Ano lang, I'm just expressing my frustration that we are being left behind already by our neighbors.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Sen, no? Kasi of course it's nasa Congress pa yung complaint, and kunyari umabot po sa inyo tapos nagkaroon ng decision ng Supreme Court whether favorable or not, definitely there will be a impeachment complaint against VP Sara. Ngayon, dami po kaming nakakausap sa iba-ibang show ng mga businessmen saying na medyo nakakatakot mag-invest sa Philippines if you have two complaints against the two highest officials of the land. May problema daw sa political structure, and if ever may magkakaroon ng power vacuum. Ano tugon niyo po dito, Sen? Kasi very critical ang first quarter nitong taon in terms of pangpaangat po ng GDP sana natin.
Well, definitely, Diego, no, Angela, I do agree with that. We had a very good start for this administration, no, with the tandem of BBM and Sara, sa winning as president and vice president with the biggest margin ever,
Yes.
biggest mandate. So ang ganda ng natin ng start. We took off quite well. Investors were looking at the Philippines. The world was looking at the Philippines at that time. But ang agang nagkaaway after 2 years, parang nagkaroon na ng falling out, no? Ang top two officials, and that already had a dent, I would say, on the political stability, on the international perception, I would say. But this time around, in case the impeachment of both the president and vice president pushes through, then I think that will all the more worsen the perception towards the Philippines of political instability. Imagine, not the top two officials will be subject to impeachment.
President and vice president.
Process. Yeah, the president, vice president. It will really create a vacuum, a perception of a political vacuum. So who will, talagang foreign investors will really look at other countries now. The way they are already looking at other countries. Vietnam lang po, times 3 ang foreign direct
Yes, oo
investment.
nga.
And Cambodia is slowly catching up on us.
Right.
So, nakaka-frustrate lang, no, na because of all of these political squabble, bickering, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangkok seems to be doing all the right things, moving forward. But it seems that we are doing the opposite.
Right.
So,
Of course.
yun lang.
Well, Senator, before we let you go, we'd also like to ask you regarding the resumption of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee investigation on the anomalous flood control projects. Kamusta po yung, sa tingin nyo, yung ongoing na investigation na ito? Nakikita rin ba ulit natin na medyo tumatagilid ulit ba ang Senate leadership regarding this? And what are your thoughts also on some of the members of the Senate and former members of the Senate being implicated in this anomalous flood control project? Especially si Senator Bong na ngayon po ay binasahan ng kanyang sakdal kanina.
Well, it's sad, no? To be honest with you, syempre nakasama rin naman natin. Sad that some members are implicated, no? Ngayon nga, may arraignment na. Some members or some colleagues are being implicated. But sa akin, no, not to defend them, but as I asked during the Blue Ribbon Committee hearing kay Yusek Bernardo, who is, I think, one of the primary movers or the architects of this whole flood control scam, I asked him, ito bang pagbebenta ng mga proyekto, saan ba nangyayari ito? Yung paglalalako ng mga proyekto, saan ba nangyayari ito? Sa Senado ba meron? O sa Kongreso lamang? Yung mga contractors. Yung pong tinatawag na allocables. No? When it was first brought to our attention, Diego, Angela, I remember the first time during the budget season, si Jose Cabral pa nag-mention, no? Sen, I remember, yung mga veteran senators, Senator Loren Legarda, Francis Pangilinan, they do not understand. We do not understand what allocable was. No, walang may alam sa Senado about the allocable, the term allocable. So it only applies to the House, do sa scheme nila about projects, no?
Yes.
Wala naman naglalako. At inamin ni Yusek Bernardo, yung prevalent talaga, yung paglalako at pagbebenta ng projects na pinapatungan, doon po sa House, hindi po yan sa Senado. Yung allocable, we do not know the term. We were not, even the veteran senators, again, as I mentioned, do not know about it. So, yun lang, no? Ang sa akin, sana we do not veer away from the real culprits of the scheme, of the flood control scheme, flood control mess or corruption. Of course, yung DPWH, collusion yan no? Sila Yusek Bernardo and Alcantara and the rest, Bryce Hernandez. But yung pong sa side po ng mga what they call the proponents, no? It's Saldico and the House of Representatives, the contractors. Itong Senado parang incidental, pero I think we should not veer away from the real modus, no? Kung sino talaga nagsimulan to, kasi baka naliligaw tayo. Just because there are mentions of senators, no? Although of course, if this is accountability, kung meron talagang, if there's really evidence, of course, they have to be accountable, no? Kung may senators. But we should not veer away from the real modus in order for us to introduce legislation so that this will not happen again.
Okay. Yung mabilis na tanong ko, Seng, yung yung Senate leadership, is it in danger o okay naman, stable?
As of now, it's okay, But ang lang kasi, you have to be, it's 15 ang majority and only 9 are majority. Minority. So, medyo malaki-laki minority So, manipis, I would say yung yung difference. So, but as of this time, I don't think there is any clamor for change of leadership. So, especially at this time. Medyo, parang it will not look good that we just had a change of leadership tapos with the current situation.
Right.
So
Tapos
it will
may
not
dalawang
help for another thing.
dalawang impeachment pa na pending, if ever.
I know.
Papailing na lang si Senator.
Ito.
Alright,
It's really frustrating, but hopefully we will survive and get through the bottom of things. And
That's
yun
right.
po I'm hoping that what we always talk about, Diego and Angela, yung mga advocacy ko, no? Yung infrastructure, healthcare,
Melton.
Parang wala pa
hoping
tayong
one
update,
day,
Sen Parang puro, politicking ang
Sige.
napag-uusapan.
Sa susunod,
Baka na.
Sen, next
Sa
week,
sideline.
pag-usapan natin yung yung mga batas mo next week.
Yun.
Ha? Sige, invite ka ulit
Okay.
namin. Alright, maraming salamat po sa
Thank
inyo,
you.
Senator J.V. Ejercito, Chair of the Senate Ethics Committee.
Oo nga, may point si Senator JV na parang this last 4 or 5 months, rarely have we talked about yung progress reports ng government. Usually kasi at this end stage of the year, you're talking about progress reports. You're talking about mess, corruption, di ba?
Impeachment. Oo.
But syempre naman, sabi niya, kung may isala daw, kailangan talaga.
Siyempre dapat nakabantay din tayo dito
Nakabantay
sa
din tayo.
sa issue na to. But speaking of the issue of flood control mess, 'di ba? Former Senator Bong Revilla and his co-accused in flood control scandal are now being arraigned at the Sandigan Bayan. For the latest, we have Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos on the ground. Hi, Arles, kamusta dyan?
Angela at Diego, alam nyo, pasado alas 7 kaninang umaga, dumating nga dito sa Sandigan Bayan si dating Senador Bong Revilla kasama yung kapwa mga akusado para yan sa pre-trial at arraignment kaugnay ng kasong malversation through falsification of public documents kaugnay nung alegasyon nga na meron daw ghost flood control projects na sa Pandibulacan na nagkakahalaga ng 76 million pesos na may mga sabuatan daw na nangyari dahilan upang ma-pronounce as completed na nga yung proyekto, pero nung sinuri nga ito, wala naman daw nadat nandoon. Mataas yung seguridad dito sa Sandigan Bayan, puno ng mga kapulisan, no? At kanina nakita natin itong si dating Senador Revilla na bumaba galing doon sa coaster mismo ng Quezon City Jail, no? Yung bus mismo. Nakasuot ito ng dilaw na t-shirt ng BJMP at meron siyang nakahawak or nakapulupot na damit sa kanyang kamay, no? Pero pagpasok nga ng Sandigan Bayan, napapalibutan ito ng mga kapulisan pa din and wala na yung kanyang posas. Nakita rin natin dito nga yung kanyang mga co-accused, ayan yung mga dating Bulacan First District Engineering Office officials na sina Bryce Hernandez, JP Mendoza, ganun din sina RJ Dumasig at Juanito Mendoza. Pati yung dalawang babae, no, medyo late lang silang dumating, pero dito na rin, no, sila Emelita Huat. Maya-maya namang hapon, mga ay inaasahan nga yung pre-trial and arraignment doon naman sa isa pang kaso sa 3rd Division, which is yung plunder and graft nga, kasangkot pa din si dating Senador Bong Revilla.
Okay. So, Arles, nakikita ko nga kanina dun sa previous videos na binigay mo dito na feed, marami talagang seguridad, which is protocol nga, no? Pero ganun kadami, okay ba yun? And of course, kamusta yung mga supporters ni Senator Bong Revilla dyan?
Alam mo, Angela, kumpara nung unang araw no, na dumating nga dito si Senador Bong Revilla para sa booking procedure at return of warrant, mas madami talaga yung mga taga-suporta na dumating dito. Nasa 300 yung bilang natin noon, though they're expecting na aabot nga sila ng 1,000. Pagdating ni dating Senador Bong Revilla, nag-chant sila dito at iginiit nga ang innocence nito, no? At ito daw ay political lamang na hakbang dahil nga wala raw ito sa posisyon at kabukod pa dyan, may history na daw kasi ito sa Senador Bong Revilla, though acquitted naman daw siya. Pero susubukan natin, Angela, na makapanayam yung ilan sa mga supporter nito, no? Dahil halo-halo talaga, Angela, may mga bata, may mga matatanda at may mga dati ng opisyalan ng bayan doon, no? Ito, subukan natin makapanayam si Kuya. Kuya, saan pa po kayo galing at bakit po kayo nandito?
Bilang po kami, supporter po kami, galing Bacoor pa po kami, Molino po. Kami po yung isa sa mga dati sa kalsada na wala lang pong mapuntahan. Ngayon po, dahil po sa kanya, sa ano po ni Superman, na ilandas niya po kami ng maayos, kaya hanggang ngayon, nagpapasalamat kami. Laban lang, Senator.
Pwede po
Nandito
makita yung nakalagay sa nyo?
Ito po.
Laban lang, Senador Bong. Alam ng taong bayan na wala kang kasalanan. Mahal ka namin, Senador Bong.
Ano po yung masasabi ninyo sa mga alegasyon na ano daw po, baka may bayad or half?
Wala ho, pusang loob po namin yung bilang po yung patotoo na po na ginawa po namin dahil po sa pasasalamat dahil sa ginawa niya bilang kami na dating ano lang ng kalsada, laman ng basura kami ng kalsada ngayon. Nagbago kami dahil sa kanya, dahil po kay Superman, Kapitan Mike Sakitan at sa kay Senator po na ginagalang po namin.
Okay.
Wala pong bayad po rito. Ano po to, volunteer po kami na nagpapasalamat dahil po sa kanya po.
Hindi po ba kayo, wala po ba kayong agam-agam kasi pangalawa na ito na reklamo?
Wala po. Kasama po kami sa lumalaban nga siya eh. Di pati rin nung kami mga supporter, lalaban din kami po para sa kanya po.
Okay. Pangalan niyo po, Kuya?
Jeffrey Martinez po, ng Molino 1. M1 po.
So Angela, isa lang yan, no? Isa lang si Kuya sa mga supporter ni dating Senador Bong Revilla dito. Ayan, masugid talaga nilang sinusubaybayan yung development dito ng mga pangyayari. Mga senior citizen na meron din dito, mga grupo ng mga kababaihan. Kasi itong gate na ito, Angela, no? Kung makikita mo, dito yung Sandigan Bayan. Dito mismo sa pinto na yan, pumasok si dating Senador Bong Revilla. Ito naman, yung sasakyan ng BJMP. Meron din dito mga K9 dogs, the units. Ito yung sasakyan naman ng pulisyano. And then ito yung coaster na sinasabi ko na sinakyan nga ni Senador Bong Revilla sa pagdating niya dito sa Sandigan Bayan. Actually, meron pa tong mga grills around them eh. Dito mismo sumakay si dating Senador Bong Revilla. Kaya sinasabi na talagang walang special treatment dahil kabukod dyan, naka-yellow din ito na t-shirt kagaya ng mga inmates at yung budget allowance ito ay nasa 100 piso lang din.
Arles, any of members of the family ni former Senator Revilla there, si Congresswoman Lani or yung mga anak niya?
Kanina, Diego, nakita natin na pumasok nga dito no, yung anak niya, si Vice Governor ng Cavite na si Ram Revilla, pero mabilis lang yung mga pangyayari, tumigil lang yung sasakyan and then pumasok na agad siya sa loob. No? Kanina nakita din natin si Representative Lani Mercado Revilla, no? Nandito rin sila. At kung matatandaan natin, kasama sa mga pag-uusapan ngayong umaga dito sa arraignment ni dating Senador Bong Revilla, yung kanilang panawagan na ilipat ito sa PNP detention facility sa Caprame dahil nga sa pangamba sa seguridad nito, no? Kasama yan sa mga diringgin ngayon, though nauna nang sinabi ni DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla na i-demolish at i-renovate nga yung PNP detention facility at kabukod pa dyan, yung mga inmate o yung mga high-profile personalities na kanilang binabantayan ngayon ay medyo may gastos sa daw at may karagdagan na mga seguridad nga na kinakailangan. So kung idaragdag daw doon si dating Senador Revilla, dagdag gastos and dagdag tauhan daw ang kanilang kakailanganin. Kaya kung maaari daw, wag na sana dalhin doon sa PNP detention facility.
Alright, Arles, last question na on my part. I guess the former senator, hindi siya nagbigay o nagpaunlak ng any interviews, pero were you able to talk to to his legal counsel? And alam ba natin kung ano na yung next legal step na gagawin ng kanyang kampo?
Wala pa tayo nakakausap mula sa panig ni dating Senador Revilla Angela, no? Naging mabilis yung mga pagyayari dito. Pagdating ng coaster na ito, pumasok na agad yung mga akusado kasama nga si Revilla at yung iba pang Bulacan District Engineer officials, no? Pero isa sa mga aabangan natin ngayon kung magbabargain nga ba, no? Guilty or not guilty plea ang ihahain ng kampo ni Revilla kaugnay ng kasong malversation through falsification of public documents.
Maraming salamat, Arles de los Santos. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
President Bongbong Marcos said that he is in healthy condition and does not pose any serious or life-threatening risk. Mobile journalist Arles del Santos has a report.
While the President could not be with us in person, he asked me to convey his warm greetings.
Executive Secretary Ralph Recto said this as he led the awarding of the 10 outstanding young men in Malacanang on Thursday morning. It was supposed to be President Bongbong Marcos's first event, but according to Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, Marcos was rushed to St. Luke's Medical Center due to a discomfort.
The President spent the night under medical observation as a precautionary measure after experiencing discomfort. His doctors advise rest and monitoring, and his condition remains stable. Malamang po ang naranasan niya ay sobrang pagod sa pagtatrabaho.
But Marcos allayed fears about his health. He even joked when asked what message he had for those wishing he were gone.
Huwag kayo muna masyadong excited dahil it's not a life-threatening condition.
So sir, wala kaming dapat ipag-alala?
Wala, huwag kayo mag-alala. The rumors of my death are highly exaggerated.
But he admitted being diagnosed with what he calls a stress-related illness.
What happened was I now have diverticulitis. It's a common complaint amongst apparently people who are heavily stressed and people who are, I have to admit, growing old.
The Mayo Clinic defines diverticulitis as an inflammation of the small pouches in the digestive tract. It often causes sudden lower abdominal pain and irregular bowel habits. And typically, aside from age, it's due to low fiber or high-fat diets, obesity, smoking, alcohol use, and certain anti-inflammatory and opioid medications. Although stress can be an aggravating factor. Despite this, the President resumed work in the palace and even attended 2 private meetings, but put on hold a scheduled appointment he had in Ilocos. Meantime, the palace brushed aside the second and third impeachment complaints filed against Marcos, or rather, attempted to be filed against him. House Secretary General Cheloy Garafil is overseas and thus the complaints have not been officially received. Yusek Castro also insists that complainants should have solid evidence, especially those on the basis of the so-called BBM parametrics formula, allegedly a 3-pronged system for distributing over 1.2 trillion pesos in funds designated for legislators' projects, which critics described as essentially pork barrel by design.
Pag sinabi nilang abusive, kailangan talaga i-prove to. Kung wala naman po sila mailalagay na anumang pruweba sa kanilang complaint, naggagawa lamang po sila ng kwento, naghahabi ng istorya. At po sila yung kickbacks, kailangan po pa rin patunayan ito. Hindi po pwedeng nasa guni-guni ng isipan ng tao. So, mahihirapan po sila talagang i-prove to dahil wala naman po talagang ginawa na violation ang ating Pangulo.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
2 groups attempted to file separate impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos, but both were not accepted by the Office of the Secretary General, citing the absence of the SecGen Cheloy Garafil. Here's the report.
On Thursday morning, progressive groups led by the Bagong Alyansang Makabayan arrived at the House of Representatives to file an impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos. This is the second impeachment complaint filed against the president. However, the Office of the Secretary General refused to accept it. The group was told Secretary General Cheloy Garafil was not around as she is currently in Taiwan to receive a recognition, something that disappointed the complainants. Makabayan said House rules are clear. An impeachment complaint endorsed by a member of Congress must be filed with the Office of the Secretary General. They also stressed it should not require the Secretary General to be physically present. But according to the Executive Director of the Office of the Secretary General, he is not authorized to receive the complaint.
Hindi namin kasalanan kung absent ang inyong Secretary General. Nadidismaya tayo na ngayon pa lamang ay ginagamit na ang mga teknikalidad para hadlangan ang filing ng impeachment complaint na ito.
Para sa amin, that impeachment complaint is deemed filed. Why? Because we delivered it to the Office of the Secretary General. Iniwan na namin, tinanggap naman.
Makabayan anchored the impeachment complaint on betrayal of public trust, citing 3 articles of impeachment. First, act of betrayal of public trust, institutionalizing systematic corruption through the so-called BBM parametric formula of allocables. Makabayan claims this so-called formula was used as basis for allocating infrastructure projects to lawmakers and other officials. Second, act of betrayal of public trust, abuse of discretionary power over unprogrammed appropriations previously declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Third act of betrayal of public trust, direct personal involvement in budgetary insertions and kickback schemes. Another group composed of known critics of the president and supporters of the Dutertes also attempted to file an impeachment complaint against President Marcos. Among the complainants were former lawmakers Mike Defensor and Jacinto Perez, along with former Ilocos Sur Governor Chavit Singson and retired General Hermogenes Esperon. They cited grounds such as culpable violations of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, graft and corruption, and other crimes. Tension also erupted after the Office of the Secretary General refused to accept their complaint. The group did not leave a copy of the complaint and said they are considering bringing the matter to the Supreme Court.
So why would we burden ourselves to go back here on Monday and be part of the moro-moro na alam naman namin yung scam impeachment ni De Jesus ang iti-take up nila?
Meanwhile, House Committee on Justice Vice Chairperson Jonathan Flores clarified that a complaint may still be considered filed if it was tendered to the Office of the Secretary General.
What is important is that it is tendered to the office, and if they refuse to receive it, then a copy should be left para to consider it as filed na rin.
Let's get insights from Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning, Attorney.
Hi, Attorney. Thanks for having us again.
Good morning, Angelo, and good morning, Angela, and good morning to all the listeners and viewers of your program.
Okay, Attorney, itong mga impeachment complaint, nagkakaroon ng lumilitaw na name, the Office of the Secretary General, di ba? So, ano ba ang interpretation mo dito, Attorney? Is it just okay to leave yung complaint sa office or literally si Sec Gen ang nandun?
Hindi ko mag-gets yung nangyari, no? Kasi, I mean, normal procedure is ministerial duty ng office is just to receive pleadings, motions. Walang discretion na I'm not authorized to receive. No? I mean, the act of receiving something like a complaint is ministerial. So, I don't get yung sinasabi nung executive director na I don't have authority to receive it. I don't get that. No? Parang, where is that coming from? Anyway, nagsalita na naman yung si Congressman Flores, yung deputy chairman ng Committee on Justice, and he said na if you just leave it there and then it's considered filed. So, I mean, that should be the ruling now.
Medyo kasi nagkakagulo dahil nga doon sa nag-aantay pa rin tayo doon sa sagot ng ruling ng Supreme Court doon sa impeachment complaint naman against the Vice President. Pero attorney, ano po ba sa tingin po ba ninyo magkakaroon ng development, uusad ba itong tatlong, let's say na-file tong tatlong impeachment complaints against the President given the political landscape that we are in right now?
Magandang tanong yan, So, magandang sitwasyon kasi yung unang impeachment complaint na in my view is ampaw, na-endorse na siya sa Office of the Speaker, right? Nandun na siya sa Office of the Speaker, who, by the way, also said before na ampaw yung impeachment complaint na yon, no? Now, if the Speaker endorses that complaint to the Committee on Justice, then that effectively triggers the 1-year ban.
Yeah.
So, itong second and third impeachment complaint, effectively, wala na sila. They have to be filed again after 1 year. So, dito ngayon actually yung problema. This is really the problem of those who are pushing for the impeachment, no? Because the moment na ma-endorse o i-endorse ng Speaker yung ampaw na impeachment complaint to the Committee on Justice for their disposition, then na-trigger na yung 1-year ban. So we have to wait for another year kung gusto pa ulit nila mag-file ng impeachment complaint.
Okay, so do you think also, attorney, that filing impeachment cases against the president at this point is actually they are testing the waters in the political landscape, especially among the congressmen, kung sino ba talaga yung magsusupport nito, sino pa ba, marami pa bang kaalyado ang presidente at this point in time, para makita na nila kung ano yung mga next move nila in terms of 2028 elections?
Well, if that was the motivation, malabo yun, no? Kasi why did they do that exercise? Madali naman malaman Madali naman malaman ano na yung political calculations ng mga lawmakers natin and also yung mga local officials natin, no? Ang mangyayari niyan, if they file the impeachment complaint, I do not know what kind of information they can gather from that. So I'm not sure what the question is asking me, no? But kung yun ang information na gusto nilang malaman, right, for political calculation purposes, I don't think that information will be derived from yung pag-file ng impeachment complaint because you're not even sure kung aabot ito sa Committee on Justice or even doon sa plenaryo. So, I don't see the connection para sa akin.
And Attorney, kanina we spoke to Senator J.V. Ejercito about yung, well, of course, the complaints against PBBM and the impending MR ng Supreme Court and possible second impeachment complaint against VP Sara. Ang sinasabi niya kasi, ang dami ng mga agam-agam from investors seeing that both leaders of the land are inside a sphere of possible impeachment and magkakaroon na possible vacuum is in the air. Ano yung thoughts niyo dito? Does it really affect our nation and the confidence that we're supposed to exude to investors?
Yes, that's a valid point, no? Very fair. And it should be considered by everyone, no? Including those who want to push for impeachment. Kasi ang pinipicture ng impeachment complaints against both our top leaders, no, President and Vice President, is a picture of instability. Yeah. Which is not the situation, right? Kasi right now, ang problema natin are very specific.
Yes.
No? We are not unstable because of yung mga uncertainties na left and right. Our problems are very specific and have been identified by experts, no? So ang kailangan natin are problem solvers. Unfortunately, yung mga mambabatas natin, or at least some of them, would rather have engage in this politicking, no, na magpa-file ako ng impeachment complaint so that I get attention, and then parang I can promote myself as this self-righteous individual. But at the end of the process, wala namang mangyayaring kabutihan para sa bayan. So I share the views, at least that particular view,
Right.
of Senator Ejercito.
Okay. All right, Attorney, pagdating po sa rules, I believe this is a precedent, kumbaga precedent, kung sakasakali na parehas na maipasa nga sa House of Representatives ang impeachment complaint against the two highest position in the land. And what will be the game plan there? Parehas na may yung impeachment, 'di ba? Paano yung magiging hindi ko pa kasi
Dynamics.
hindi ko kasi alam yung rules Paano ba 'yon, Attorney?
So, pareho tayo, no? We cannot imagine kasi it has never happened before. But it is certainly possible, no? Kasi hindi naman siya prohibited by the Constitution. Siguro ang mako-contribute ko lang sa atin na naghahanap ng parang picture, ang mangyayari niyan, our lawmakers will set aside legislative work. And most likely just focus on the impeachment. So siguro on certain days they will tackle yung impeachment ni Pangulong Marcos, and then on certain days they will tackle the impeachment of Vice President Duterte. And then when that goes to the Senate, ganun din, no? Certain days sa trial.
They become the prosecutorial body, di ba?
Di ba? So basically, makikita natin yung Kongreso natin will probably 100% be preoccupied with the impeachment of both public officials. So yung trabaho nila bilang mga mambabatas
will be part.
Masasantabi na yon. So yung mga batas na gusto natin na mangyari, like yung anti-dynasty law, yung mga political party list reform law na sabi na nga ni Pangulong Marcos na i-prioritize, well, that will be set aside.
Quickly lang, before we go, Attorney, you mentioned kasi kanina na wala naman problema ang Pilipinas in terms of how sound we are. Yeah, we have a sound and stable democracy. But the question is, our public officials are not sound. They're immature. Do you agree with that? No, kasi our structure is sound, but it looks like no matter how strong it is, if you have immature players inside it, useless.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you 100%. Let me just clarify. No? What I'm trying to say is, yung mga problems natin are already identified. We know them, right? We know them. Education crisis, agriculture crisis, health crisis. Alam na natin
Yes.
And now we need solutions.
All right.
No? So we need to look for solutions. Okay. Unfortunately for us, tayo mga mamamayan, the solutions must come from Congress.
Ayun na.
Because ang kailangan ay legislative action. No? So laws. Ang problema rin natin ngayon, nakikita natin yung mga mambabatas natin, they're not up for that challenge.
Right.
To look for solutions. So that's why we are where we are now. No?
All right.
It's not that we are unstable as a democracy.
Agree.
It's more like yung mga lawmakers natin are preoccupied with other things rather than finding the solutions to our problems.
Alright, once again, as always, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras and of course insights. Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Now in other news, Chinese vessels came within 23 nautical miles of the Philippines last year, the closest recorded approach as Beijing expanded patrols toward Luzon, the Philippine Coast Guard said. The incident off Pangasinan on April 8, 2025 put China Coast Guard ships about 43 kilometers from shore. The PCG said Chinese ships also expanded operations around Scarborough Shoal, displacing Filipino fishermen and prompting Manila to keep its own patrols constantly at sea. The area is within the Philippines Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ, where Manila has rights to fish and resources under international law.
Well, joining us now is Commodore J. Tariela, spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard for the West Philippine Sea. Commodore, thank you for joining us.
Hello, magandang umaga po sa inyo at magandang umaga sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Alright, confirm po lang po namin no, itong latest PCG monitoring, yung how close po talaga did the Chinese Coast Guard vessels get to Luzon? Kasi madaming medyo kinakabahan Commodore.
Yes, no, ang data that we presented a few days back, no, they showed yung deployment ng China Coast Guard sa taon ng 2025. And based on our record, the closest approach is 23 nautical miles off the coast of Pangasinan. There are also approaches as near as 25 nautical miles and 26 nautical miles sa may gawin naman ng Mindoro. So, makikita natin dito, no, na ang Chinese Coast Guard comparing in 2024, mas na-disperse na yung deployment nila. Because in the previous years, ang deployment lamang ng Chinese Coast Guard is pretty much concentrated in Bajo de Masinloc and within that particular vicinity.
But I was wondering lang po, Commodore, ano po ba yung criteria ng PCG that you guys use no, to determine kung ang CCG ba nagpapatrol, nagko-constitute ng encroachment versus normal navigational presence?
Well, una sa lahat, no, kung they're going to exercise yung freedom of navigation, kapag challenge sila ng Philippine Coast Guard, that would be the response. But unfortunately, every time we challenge them over the radio, sinasabi nila that what they're doing is that they're conducting their own legitimate law enforcement patrol. Ibig sabihin, inaangkin nila talaga yung water. No?
Right.
So there's no denying to that. Secondly, we would like to believe that it is their intention, no, to normalize itong mga ganitong illegal na patrol nila. So that 10 years, 15 years from now, sasabihin nila, dati na namin pinagpapatrolyan yan no? So it's important for the Philippine Coast Guard to challenge and document and expose all these incursions in Chinese Coast Guard para hindi nila sasabihin na the Philippine government allowed them to do that. So, paano tayo nag-acquiescence,
yeah.
No? So, sinabi natin, inallowed na natin sila and we just gave up the entire West Philippine Sea for them to patrol.
And Commodore, now yung palapit ng palapit ang Chinese Coast Guard vessels and also expanding operations around the Scarborough Shoal. No? Paano na po yung mga fishermen natin moving forward?
Well, I also released yung sa annual report namin yung documentation of the movement of the Filipino fishing boats. No? Comparing it to in 2024, noong mga panahon na yon, ang mga mangingisda natin, although hindi sila nakapasok sa loob ng shoal, ay nandun pa rin sila sa vicinity ng Bajo de Masinloc. But in 2025, since we saw much dispersed and aggressive deployment of the Chinese Coast Guard, ang mga mangingisdang Pilipino din natin, na itaboy din sila ng palayo. No? So they're also scattered off the coast of Luzon.
Okay, so ngayon po ba, ano pa po yung mga nakita natin na, kasi gumagawa po sila ng excuse that they would say that this is a nature reserve, that's why they're there. Pero may mga structure na po tayo mga nakikita. At this point in time, can you share with us any update on that?
Well, the structure na nakita natin mula noon hanggang the present time, no, since we did the MDA flight, remains to be the same. No? Ito yung dalawang buya na inilagay nila sa loob ng Bajo de Masinloc and on the other side of the shoal.
Okay, kamustahin ko na rin po pala, mabilisan lang po, Commodore, yung BRP Sierra Madre natin. Kamusta po yung ating mga kasamahan po doon? And meron na po bang, kasi ngayon, di ba, they were trying to parang i-renovate yun, pero hindi nga makalusot. Yung pagkain nga lang, hinaharangan na.
Well, on the part of the BRP Sierra Madre, no, that's for the armed forces of the Philippines. Though the Philippine Coast Guard is always in support of all those resupply operations na ginagawa nila.
Pero tuloy lang po yung ano nyo po, yung pagsuporta sa pagbibigay ng mga supply.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright, muli maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Commodore J. Tariela, spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard for the West Philippine Sea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Senate Science and Technology Committee held hearings on the proposed Philippine Nuclear Liability Act, a key step toward bringing nuclear power into the country's energy mix. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reports.
The Senate Committee on Science and Technology examined yesterday the proposed Philippine Nuclear Liability Act, which focuses on the legal framework needed to integrate nuclear power into the country's energy mix for greater renewable and cost-efficient energy that could replace coal plants. The Department of Energy has also identified several areas across the country that may possibly host a nuclear power project soon.
Offhand, I can confirm that several locations in Bataan, including the existing facility where the BNPP is situated, remain suitable for a nuclear power plant site, as well as the sites in Labrador, Pangasinan, and there are also other sites located in Camarines Norte. There are sites also in Palawan, Puerto Princesa in particular, as well as Masbate.
Several big power generation firms have already expressed their interest in putting up nuclear power plants, but according to Philippine Nuclear Research Director Dr. Carlo Arcilla, these are also just waiting for the development and establishment of the Philippine Atomic Energy Regulatory Authority, or PhilAtom, to regulate and ensure that safety, security, and liability standards will be followed. The Philippine Nuclear Energy Safety Act was already signed into law last year by President Bongbong Marcos.
Right now, what is stopping us from setting up nuclear energy in the Philippines? Alam kong matagal na itong pinaplano. This was clearly a goal in the first few years of this administration.
Number one, the PhilAtom has to be established. And we're close to that, which is an independent regulatory body. Appoint ng Director General, tapusin yung IRR. So meron ka ng regulatory. The function of the regulatory is to give dalawang license for nuclear plants. License to construct and license to operate. Yung iba pong technical aspects, yun nga. Kasi it's not easy to put up a nuclear plant.
Under the Philippine Energy Plan and the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program Roadmap, DOE said the country is eyeing to have commercially operational nuclear power plants by 2032. While some surveys and observations have shown acceptability of communities, the DOE assures there are safeguards protecting oppositions against nuclear power projects.
What we're envisioning is that government will handhold the nuclear power proponents. So we will guide them through the permitting process. If there's opposition on the part of the LGU can withhold the issuance of the business permit. So hindi rin po makakapag-proceed.
The Department of Environment, however, has a concern in mind, losing jurisdiction over waste management.
With respect to the liability, we have no we support the law. However, Your Honor, with respect to the related Senate bill, doon po kasi sa bill na yun, Your Honor, it transfer the jurisdiction under Section 6 of the proposed bill, which should not involve the transfer of environmental laws.
Natanggalan ba ang DNR ng responsibility?
According to our agreements now, working agreements, if we're dealing with toxic or hazardous waste, that's the purview of the DNR. But if we're dealing with radioactive nuclear materials, that's a purview of PNRI.
Position papers submitted to the Senate will be used for the betterment of the legislation, but both the DOJ and DOH supported the measure as it seeks to update and align the law on nuclear liability with modern principles and international standards.
Let me again reassure you, the accidents are very rare. In fact, nuclear is the safest energy source. If you total the operating number of hours divided by the number of deaths, ang pinakamaliit po ay nuclear.
A next committee hearing will be set with the same agenda in mind. Kapatid Mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes, we are One News.
All right, so this just in, the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division has deferred the arraignment of former Senator Bong Revilla and 6 other accused in the malversation case nga in connection with the anomalous flood control project. Sabi nila, the court will tend to the several pending motions muna bago sila mag-proceed with the reading of charges. So, ibig sabihin na postpone muna.
Alright.
Okay.
And by the way, no, weekend na ba? Oh,
Yes.
happy weekend sa lahat. 1 week na, bilis ng panahon ha. Saka ready daw kayo ng mga jackets at sweaters this weekend. May isang bugso daw ulit ang amihan. Oh, malamig. 19 degrees yesterday, the other day. Tapos 17 degrees Celsius naman sa may Rizal. So, one of the coldest in the last few months. Alright, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again next week on Monday. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III, kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.